Hi there, my name is Matthew Morgan. I am doing the RC Baja project for my capstone project here at CWU in the MET program. Specifically, I'm working with the drivetrain steering components of the RC car. Why I chose this project, after I graduate, I would like to get into automotive engineering, specifically motorsport engineering, working in F1, IndyCar, or NASCAR. So I thought this project would help me get a sense of what it's like to develop a car, build from the ground up, and then research, develop, and improve on the design overall. The requirements that I will be discussing today and that were tested are a top speed requirement of 20 miles an hour and a yawing angle of less than 10 degrees when going around a 60-degree corner. For context, yawing is the sliding of the rear end, so it cannot slide more than 10 degrees from the apex of the 60-degree corner. So for the top speed test, what I ended up doing was I did a top speed test. I did a drag race where I took a tape measure, measured out 25 feet and put it on the ground, took two pieces of painter's tape and put it at both ends. And from one end, I also measured out 18 feet and put another piece of tape down. So I had a 7-foot block at the end of the run, where that gave the RC car some time to build up speed so that it can get up to speed before I start timing it. Before this test was conducted, I did a calculation to determine the top speed of the RC car, and shown here it was about 37.43 miles an hour. For the data shown in table 2, the time was the time it took to go from the beginning of that 7-foot block to the end of the test. So I have 0.63, 0.74, and 0.8 seconds. The speed in feet per second was then found by taking the distance divided by the time. So feet per second, that data is shown here, and then that speed was converted into miles an hour, which then averaged out to be about 6.66 miles an hour. And unfortunately, because it got 6.66, it did not meet the design requirement of at least 20 miles an hour, and definitely didn't get close to the theoretical top speed of 37.43 miles an hour. For the yawing test, or the yawing requirement, I did a cornering test where I utilized the same 25 feet that I used for the top speed, and then just measured out 60 degrees using a protractor and put another piece of tape down to make a 60-degree bend. And I did that on both ends of the test so that I had left and right turns. The data for that test is shown here. And then before the test, I also did a calculation for this utilizing an equation that had a cornering stiffness ratio, the weight of the rear end, radius of the corner, and the velocity that it is going when it goes into the corner. And that came out to be about 60 degrees of yaw, which was really high. But so the test data shown here, I have 3 trials for the left and the right turns. And for the left turn, it averaged out to be 3.25 degrees, while the right turn averaged out to be about 2 degrees. Things that went successful and unsuccessful. The top speed, I believe, was unsuccessful due to a couple reasons. One being the weight not being accounted for when doing this top speed calculation. Our car is kind of heavy, it's over 10 pounds. Also, the gear pairings, the transmission gear pairing and the differential gear pairing on my car aren't perfectly mated. They kind of aren't aligned properly, so that could be losing some power there as well. And finally, the ESC and the motor combo, we were having issues with that all quarter, not getting maximum power. So I think if we had some more time to tinker with those, we can easily get the car up to over 20 miles an hour, or maybe even up to the 37 miles an hour that was calculated. For the yawing angle test, what went right, I believe there's more weight in the rear than in the front. For the calculation, it was a perfect weight distribution between front and back. For our car, there's more weight in the rear, which gave it more stability going around the corner, and therefore didn't yaw as much. As well as the cornering stiffness ratio, I had to estimate it because there's no data on the tires I used. There was no cornering stiffness data for that, so I believe it was much higher, and therefore they would give me a smaller angle. In summary, the RC car was a success and not a success. I mean, it drives, but it didn't meet our top speed requirement of 20 miles an hour. It only averaged about 6.66, and the yawing angle was less than 10 degrees, giving a nice stable cornering, but obviously not as fast. And I would now like to show you a video of the car in action. This was taken during the this was during a mock of the cornering test. And that's my presentation. Thank you.